Hello, my name is Chaim Yitzchak Machayo, a Levi Harry Dersh Zeitz, minus a few that are not legal anymore. Now, today is, or it's about to be, the second night of Passover. So, I believe most people on this account will not be seeing this video live, and if they do see it, those people are not going to see it until after it's already saved. So, I'm going to go and still do this live. And if anyone ends up coming on, awesome. If not, I hope you enjoy this afterwards. So, I'm going for a little walk here. Wait, is it raining? Because if it's raining, I don't really know if it's a good idea to go for a walk, let alone with my phone. All right. So, horizons as dimensional interfaces. It's my framework that I built to understand the underlying reality of space, time, and all matter, energy, all that good stuff. And so right now where we are in regards to our understanding is that space-time and matter are not fundamental. There is an underlying connection that allows space, time, and all energy, specifically matter, to emerge as we know it. So, with that said, right now, while we are waiting for one specific experiment to be confirmed, we just need a yes or a no, right? Does gravity have memory? Can it be based on past states of itself? And in the most limited sense, it reduces back to general relativity, Einstein's theory. So, what do we do with this? If space, time, and all of matter, all the energy in the universe, if it's not fundamental, then what is the thing that connects it all? What is it? So that's where science is right now. And that's where my theory also has pointed me towards. I came to this conclusion through a couple thought experiments that led me to believe that, or led me to the conclusion that led me to speculate at first, that space, right? Meaning, it's, I should say space-time, because that's really more accurate. It's a relationship. Space-time are illusions. It's the relationship between the two that really exists. But if not just matter, but space itself, right? Meaning the curvature, the relationship that matter, or more broadly, energy has with space, because energy curves space, right? And we know on the quantum level that that's the source, aka matter or energy, to be more broad, curves space. So now, just to give you a little visual of how that relates to where we are now, think of, close your eyes if you want, you don't have to. Think of two kayaks, right? They're both in a river, and they're following the stream. The stream is pulling them both in one direction. One direction. Anyways, let's say one of them takes their oar or their paddle stick And while holding it, he just reaches over to the other kayak with the stick, and the other guy in the other kayak grabs that stick. Now they are bound by that paddle stick, and they effectively become one object. That's essentially the story of space-time and source, matter, energy, whatever, right? So think of it like that. The paddle stick, or the oar, the paddle stick, is the underlying thing that makes them, or that couples them together as one object. So separately, they're not one object, or they're not one object, but with that paddle, that's the connection between the two boats acting as one object. So in response to say a black hole, right? The relationship of space and time flip, and now you have kind of this closed off universe. But the rest of the universe still remembers what was there before, even though it's technically its own universe right now. It's been causally separated. Putting this all together, we're looking at what relational structure allows for the coupling or the dynamics of, let's say, matter interacting with space-time. What's that relational structure? And this is where my theory comes in, called horizons as dimensional interfaces. Now, I'm going to try to blow your fucking minds here, because the solution to my science theory was my science fiction story. Now, wait, before you judge me, this is an actual thing. So I don't like paradoxes. I really do not like paradoxes. So I tried to find, is there a way around the paradoxes where I can have my character be able to travel through time and not break causality? That's really what it was. I didn't like the idea that you watch a movie and they try to just pretend that that's not, you're not, that you didn't understand this destroys the whole film. Just pretend, and it's I don't want to be one of those movies who leaves you questioning, for instance, in Back to the Future, he goes back in time. His mother tries to fuck him, and it's if that happened, what would happen to him, right? So that breaks causality, Now, in the disappear, but that breaks so many other rules, and so there are people who came up with a better idea, or what if instead of it collapsing, it splits? And now you're on a new timeline, a new universe, essentially. So now you have in one universe where Marty McFly doesn't fuck his mother. But in the other universe, he does fuck his mother. And he causes himself to go out of existence in one universe, but in the other universe he still exists, because simultaneously, at the same time, while fucking his mother, he did not fuck his mother. Do you see what I'm getting at? So that's multiverse theory. But even that has a lot of issues. So my theory, and many other theories, technically, I just realized, are saying very similar in this way. How do you define measurement? Obviously, you can't define it through a collapse, because that already, once you start to poke holes, you start to ask questions. It falls apart. The multiverse theory doesn't work either, because it begins to fall apart. The one that answers all the questions and has stood up so far to all of it is something that I've come to the conclusion, and several other people have come to conclusions, that measurement is the interaction between two things, between geometry source, or their mutual evolution. So measurement can be defined as an interaction
you can make it into a unit, essentially, whatever unit you want to parameterize it with. So yeah, you so what I'm studying is what's the underlying factor behind all this. So I created, through my story, because my guy, he's called the Time Ripper, right? He's the Time Ripper. So think of, if you can imagine, you know what, everyone knows, I'm sure you guys would know what portals are, right? Like it's like a rip, essentially. Okay, let me show you. Like, let's say I designated anywhere. It could be in this, just the space here, or just the tree, and I just designate a point. So let's say I slice that tree in half, and I designate certain coordinates onto it, right? Now, that is a material surface that you could call a boundary. However, a boundary doesn't fully explain the full dynamic of what's going on. And so my theory says maybe a better language to use is interface. So now imagine you take like a portal, right? There's no space in between. It's just a boundary. Think of like, okay, I'm going to do it right here. Let's just say in the air. Here, 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 and here. Let's just designate those as arbitrary coordinates for the sake of proving a point. So those boundaries that I just created, think of that as, on one side of that interface is where I am right now in Florida, right? But on the other side of the interface is Tokyo, right? Now imagine I was on a diving board, and the interface, normally where the pool is, right? So I take that interface that I'm just describing and kind of have it so it's like it's hovering over the pool. So let's just say this is the pool right over here. Now I put the interface right over here, and I am standing on top, about to jump in through the interface. Now, you have to take into account all of the forces acting upon this source, or in this case, let's just say I'm the one jumping off the diving board, right? There's gravity. There's also resistance to the particles in the air. There's a bunch of things, but if you try to just keep it as simple as possible, just to start off with at least, and put yourself in your nonsense, thus dissipation of energy from the air particles like oxygen and stuff like that. You know, it's just pure vacuum space, so you're not losing anything. And then once you get to the boundary of the portal, of the interface, before you get to Tokyo, before you get to Tokyo, so you're in Florida, before you fall into Tokyo, right? You are accelerating at 9.8 meters per second squared. You're accelerating. You're going faster and faster every 9.8 meters. You're doubling your speed. So imagine once you cross that barrier, because there's no physical or material surface, it's a lossless surface, meaning there's no, it's like, right, see how I'm standing on the floor? I'm not falling through the floor, am I? Why? Because it's a source type surface. Its state is stable. It's basically reached a stable state, temporarily, obviously, but it's reached a state of stability where it is allowed to become a system that moves forward, in our case especially. So now, let's say I fall through the portal, lossless, meaning when I say lossless, meaning like me standing on the ground here, I'm not going to fall through because I lose something. Like if I were to jump from, let's say I was standing on top of this sculpture and I jumped to the ground, I would reach the zero velocity level, and I would reach a place that loses all the energy. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. Okay, so because I'm there, once I jump from that sculpture to the floor. Once I reach the floor, all that energy, the ground, essentially, the energy is transferred. So now you've reached that zero level. But in my interfaces, there is no ground. From Florida to Tokyo, instantly. Now, this is the funny thing. You have to take into consideration the difference in gravity, because Tokyo may be at a higher place on Earth relative to the center of the Earth, and I might be at a lower place on Earth relative to the center. Oh, interesting part. The most once you pass that boundary, you're not losing any energy. Once you pass that boundary, you're not losing any energy. The only difference is the direction of gravity. This is the reason why. Because the exit of the interface, the exiting side of the interface, aka Tokyo, is not facing the ground. So you're not falling to the ground. At least first, falling to the ground. First, so from a diving board in Florida, and you fall through the interface, and the exiting side of the interface is pointed upwards towards the sky. So when you fall out of the interface, you're going to go up, 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 up into the sky before you reach the maximal height, or I should say length L, which it was transferred from Florida to Tokyo. So now you are going, instead of falling to the ground, you're going up until the energy reaches a stable state, which is equivalent to where you jumped off the diving board in Florida. So now you're falling and you're falling, and as long as no other forces are acting upon you, and you're in a vacuum for simplicity, you're gonna go and fall back into Florida, and you're gonna go back up to length L, which originally length L is the measurement between where you jumped off of the diving board to once you've passed the boundary into Tokyo. And so what's the result? You will oscillate back and forth from Florida to Tokyo infinitely. Unless acted upon by an outside force, you will go back and forth from Florida to Tokyo infinitely. Now, this is what makes it even more fucking dynamical, more interesting, because let's say we place certain conditions on these interfaces, right? Let's say we make a copy of the arbitrary parameters that I made, that I showed you, that are here, right? Did you guys see that? Here. So it's like a square. I just placed arbitrary coordinates in the air just to prove a point. That's the same one that I showed earlier. So and we make copies of it, right? And you stack them on one on top or one below relative to the other. So you have like one interface, and then right below it, it's stacked right below relative to the one above it. You know it's above because you choose that top one is the first one, so the second one that you're putting is below it relative to whatever you can see. I see trees here, so there's enough references to be able to suggest the direction. So I make copies, I stack them on top of each other. Now, let's say each frame, each interface copy, I slightly reorient 1 degree to the left. All right? When you drop, let's say, a source like me through the portal, what happens? I am following the direction of that 1 degree difference in each frame. So I would look like a fractal, essentially, going, let me see if there's a way to give like an example of something. Like there's like these like those like screw things that you have, like two screws, right? And you take one and you put it on the other one, and then it starts like spinning around it, and it goes down and it follows that path. It would be something akin to that almost, but more complex, because so my entire configuration, my orientation of my spatial from here to here, from here to here, like all three directions, right? It would reorient according to that interspace, what I like to call cosmic rabbit holes. Yeah, so I like to call them cosmic rabbit holes, but essentially, you can do so many things with this. You can make it dissipative, you can make it thermal, you can make it be memory bearing, meaning based on past states, and you can do so much. And so now when you look at it, there's now these class of behaviors, and basically, like when you depending on how things are coupled, right, will depend on the type of relationship that they have. And so my theory suggests that things emerge from these relations. Essentially, you can think of it like a program almost. And this program is what gives admissibility for the structures to couple together to become, let's say, space-time or matter, or me or you, right? Not much different when you think about it now in that context. Not much difference between you, me, and a black hole. The only real difference is that we're stable objects, a black hole isn't. So think about that. You're not really that much different, other than one little tiny thing, an asymmetry between the Schwarzschild radius and your physical radius. So, yeah, that's really the only real difference between you and a black hole. So, with that said, I'm still building the theory. I'm still building the relational structure that gives rise, that gives the rule, that tells how space and time and matter, how to interact, how to couple, if they're even allowed to couple, you know? In our case, obviously, it was. That's why we're here. So, let's continue to go down this rabbit hole. Now, yeah, so I've created essentially my own relational structure where there's like an entrance, a place for different dynamical things and to go on, and then an exit and propagation outside of that. So, with that said, I was fortunate enough to be able to find a way to continue to study all of this for a little bit longer. And yeah, I was hoping to study this for a little bit longer. I was able to get a little bit of money to allow me to continue to build this, but I have, like, if I'm lucky, another month before I become homeless. But at least I was able to make it a little further than I initially expected. I was going to become homeless by the end of January, but thankfully, due to a fortunate set of circumstances that went through a sort of an interface-like type of manner, allowed me to extend that time to, I'll be able to make it till the end of the month, and after that, I won't be able to even feed myself, to be honest. I mean, well, the money's going to start running out quickly, and then I won't be able to feed myself. So if I'm lucky, I'll be able to make it to the summer and to be able to continue to study. So if anyone is interested in helping me continue my project, if you think that this is promising work, please visit Chaim Z. Well, you could do several things if one or the other option doesn't work, and very, very easy. ChaimZ 2020 at wixsite.com /HDIF as in Frank. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, somewhere down there, I have a link where if you're able to, if you're not, no worries, but if you're able to, it would be very helpful. And this would be a very big contribution towards society, because it's going to change us and maybe even fix how we treat each other. You know, I'm not even kidding. This is like not just scientific. This is something, this might be like a conscious revolution of some sort, or you know, like where, you know, we treat each other differently. But anyways, yeah, so if you go on that website, you go down there, click on the button. It's going to then take you to the page where you can click to go to my GoFundMe page, or you could type in the same part of the first part of the website address, but instead of after the / you just put in the Rabbit Hole Express, one word, the Rabbit Hole Express. Oh, with the HDIF website, I made a mistake. It's HDIF as in Frank, but then hyphen Nexus, N as in Nancy, E, X as in xylophone, X, like U, S as in Sam. So HDIF, HDIF hyphen Nexus, and then the other one is the Rabbit Hole Express. Make sure you put in the word the. And if you still, for whatever reason, can't find it, you can go on Google and you just type in the Rabbit Hole Express, or you can say therabbitholeexpress.com, I think. But then you can also put in HDIF, HDI as an interface, F as in Frank. And I believe you should be able to find the website if you scroll down just like 2 or 3, like 3 links, I think. You'll be able to find my website. Now, it hasn't been updated to reflect these interfaces in the way that I've just described to you today, because I just started that part of the project. Like, I already had all of this beforehand, but now I'm at the part where I'm now developing that relational structure through the interfaces. So if you read it, it might not seem like, oh, he's talking about some, you know, he's not talking about like jumping through an interface with a diving board here or whatever, or something like that, or whatever similar to that, excuse me. Don't worry, that's just basically the underlying structure of my work. I am going to update it once I finish this paper, this version of the paper, and yeah, if you're yeah, and that's pretty much it. If you're able to help me out, great. If not, no worries. Chag Sameach to those who celebrate, whoever's on. I mean, I guess you're kind of more like me. You know, I don't think we're allowed to be on today. Or if you're not Jewish, maybe you're not Jewish. That's fine. That's cool. That's cool. It's actually, we should all, that's another thing. I just want to say, I hope that we all pass over this bullshit that we're going through. That's all I want to say. It's the last thing. Whatever bullshit that we're all going through right now, whatever your side is, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, we're going through some fucking bullshit. You recognize that no matter what side you're coming from. So hopefully we pass over this bullshit. B'ezrat Hashem. Oh wait.